go through Project 2025 with me so we know what we're in for these next 4 years. I've done a lot of other videos, I think 3 right now, about the promises and going one by one in like the forward introduction of Project 2025. And so today we have gotten to the last promise in the beginning of this 900-page manifesto. And the last promise is promise number 4, and that says it is to secure our God-given individual right to enjoy the blessings of liberty. This is a very common phrase in like the Christian evangelical world. They love liberty and freedom, but they have a very skewed particular definition of liberty and freedom, and it's basically just whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it is liberty and freedom. So that's super fun for everybody else. So first off, in this first paragraph talking about this promise, it says that everyone and our founding fathers created the right for everyone to be able to go on the pursuit of happiness. And so this is interesting because I do agree with this. And so they then say the pursuit of happiness, or as it also can be called, the pursuit of blessedness. And that gave me pause because I was like, the pursuit of blessedness is completely different than the pursuit of happiness. And that's what they do. They just go in and say, oh, this phrase actually means this. And so if it means this, this is where we can get this next thought. So that's what happens. So they say pursuit of happiness means pursuit of blessedness. What is pursuit of blessedness? Blessed be the fruit. Ring any bells? But they say that the pursuit of blessedness is that each individual must be free to live as their Creator ordained. So this is not, they do not believe in pursuit of happiness for the individual to do what they want to do that brings them joy and happiness. They believe that the pursuit of happiness means the pursuit of blessedness, and you can only be blessed if you are following in the ways ordained by your Creator. Interesting. Now, what are the ways ordained by the Creator, and who tells us what those ways are? And Project 2025 is like, oh, I'm glad you asked. We do. And we say that the Creator says that we can only be heterosexual, no interracial marriages, that divorce isn't allowed. And this is where it's honestly one of the most creepy sentences I've read in the whole project so far, because they're outright saying that individuals in America only have the freedom to live as the Creator ordained, and then they of course are going to speak as God, as the Creator. And we've seen what happens in countries that are theological based or have theocracy in modern times. It never works out when people of power can use religion to control other people, because none of those people are actually religious. They just want the power to control others. And so this is really scary. It then goes on to say, now, the way to be blessed and have the pursuit of blessedness and to live as our Creator ordained, this is primarily through the family. And this is interesting. So they're basically saying that the only way to be blessed and have the pursuit of happiness and freedom is to prioritize the family. And obviously the family for them means marriage with no divorce ever. And it also means having children. The family, they don't believe that a couple is a family. They don't believe that a gay couple who are married to each other would be a family. They think family is only heterosexual couples with children, and that is what they believe 100%. They then go on to say that throughout the years, America is the greatest nation in the whole world. They say that Americans rejected monarchy, slavery, second-class citizenship for women, communism, and wokeism. So it's so ironic and funny to me, because I'm like, how and why do they think first that America rejected slavery? Like, why do they think that when that's just factually untrue? In order to stop slavery, we literally had to have war with ourselves. Half of the country did not reject slavery. We had to force a rejection of the country, or it would not have been rejected. But here on, they go to say Americans rejected slavery. And I will add something here. I grew up with the Abeka homeschool curriculum, and this curriculum is what a lot of Christian homeschoolers and fundamentalists use. And this curriculum was very almost pro-slavery, or the way they talked about the Civil War and slavery in America was just so whitewashed. They basically said that slavery was an economic system for the South, and that Southern owners were really nice to their slaves, and it was basically the same as in the Middle Ages of like being an indentured servant, and a lot of slave owners would free their slaves, and just like all of this untrue stuff. And they would say that a lot of slave owners taught their slaves how to read the Bible and like helped them come to Jesus, which is just so disgusting when you know the truth that anyone can sit down and write these lies. And so it was pretty appalling when I was reading through Project 2025 that they're so like not believing in truth. It was kind of crazy of how they literally said Americans rejected slavery. They go on to say Americans rejected second-class citizenship for women, which is also fascinating because literally in our Constitution, it said that only men can vote and that slaves can't vote, or they get 3/4 of the vote or something like that. But literally it said that women cannot vote. So I don't know what they're saying when they're saying Americans rejected this. And even now we have second-class citizenship of women. And you can tell that because we literally voted for someone who has been accused of hurting women and assaulting them. And he is in the highest seat in the United States. So women are definitely still second class. I don't know what they're saying when they say we rejected that. And then they go on to say we rejected communism, and now we are rejecting wokeism. And this is where I do believe that fascism is obviously on the rise and here now with Trump, because when you grow up in these kinds of cult environments, a classic telltale of a cult is the us versus them mentality. And so they have basically assigned wokeism is the new word of what I was raised with as secular. When I was raised, everything bad was secular and everything was of the secular world, and I couldn't go into the secular world, and the seculars are so bad. And now they replace secular with wokeism. And so now anyone who doesn't agree, look, or act like them is woke, and they have this battle against the woke because wokeism is so bad. And so it puts off alarm bells to me whenever anyone has such a generic term like wokeism, and it's basically we can be mean to anyone who doesn't think like us because they're woke. And that's scary when people start doing that. And then they go on to say countries where Marxist elites run are weaker, poorer, and less free. I would love to know which countries they're talking about, because I do know I think they often will say Marxists when they're just talking about more socialist programs. At least that's how I was raised. Like, they would say basically France is almost communist because it's so like progressive, and well, not anymore, but was so progressive and like had socialized medicine, and they'll call that Marxist. So I'm wondering which countries he's talking about, because America is steadily on the decline, and of the best countries in the world, we are not number one, and it's more of the socialized, elitist, woke countries that are number one. The person then goes on to say the US remains the most innovative and upwardly mobile society in the world. And so I was like, oh, interesting. Let me look and see if that's true. In terms of innovation, we rank third place in innovation. So we are not the top or first. And it's just scary to me when people are writing these things to give the president that are just filled with false facts that you can refute in literally 60 seconds. And then he says we are the first upwardly mobile society, or remain the most upwardly mobile society in the world, and we are actually 27th, and Sweden I think is in first place. So these are just not true. Like, and how I grew up, patriotism was basically taught as you have to be so pro-US, nothing we did was wrong, don't admit to anything, we are the best country in the whole world, do not admit to anything. And that's not true. And they say that elites shouldn't control everyone should control elites. I'm not really sure what that meant. And then he says that the left doesn't think that businesses or churches should be allowed freedom until they bend the knee. And this was very interesting to me, this sentence, because the author is saying that the left right now, currently, is not allowing churches or businesses to be free until they bend the knee. Whereas in all the circles I have been to, most of the churches preach about politics from the pulpit, which is just illegal to do because they are tax exempt. And so They're literally not allowed to do that, and yet I've reported them and nothing has ever happened. And so they're literally allowed to go on their propaganda train with absolutely no consequence. And then I've seen multiple churches that I go to cover up abuse, and pastors are mandatory reporters, and literally it will be public knowledge that the pastor covered up abuse and nothing is done about it. They don't lose their tax exempt status. They never suffer. Like, what he's saying about how churches don't have freedom is just absolutely ridiculous, because when I grew up, churches have all the freedom to discriminate and do illegal things while maintaining their tax exempt status. So that is the last promise. Very scary stuff. So far, it's been pretty much like how I was raised and how I would think it was. I'm gonna do these videos about once a week because, to be honest, it's really triggering and hard for me to read through all of this rhetoric because I escaped from it and I no longer believe that way. And so I have to give myself some time and space between videos because it is a lot for me to read through this and be okay and like calm down, and it's just kind of like re-traumatizing of how I grew up, if that makes sense. But have a great day. Thank you for watching.